Let me ask you something. Can you think of a single business out there that has zero risk? Go on, try. I'm guessing you can. And that's because every single business, at its core, is a gamble. But how do you play the odds? Today, we're going to dive right into the heart of business risk, and we'll use a simple story to understand what might be one of the trickiest parts of being an entrepreneur.
So, meet Aman and Ria. They were friends back in college who both had the exact same dream, opening their own cafes. And they did it, right next door to each other, in fact. But their philosophies on how to run a business, worlds apart. Aman was all about playing it safe. Ria, on the other hand, she believed that business was all about taking smart, calculated risks.
So, how did these two totally different approaches actually work out for them? Let's get into their story.
Okay, so their strategies could not have been more different. Eamon, he wanted to avoid any chance of failure. His thinking was, everybody loves tea and biscuits, they're a sure thing, so that's all he sold. Ria, though, she wanted to explore. She rolled out a whole variety of things, coffees, sandwiches, cakes, to figure out what her customers really truly wanted. Now sure, she was taking a risk on all that inventory, but she was also giving people way more reasons to walk through her door instead of his.
And then, bam, disaster strikes. A massive storm, something totally unpredictable, just rolls through and damages both of their cafes. This is like a perfect example of the uncertainty every single business faces. It doesn't matter how safe you try to play it, some things are just completely out of your control.
And the aftermath? Well, that's where you see the real difference in their thinking. Aman was totally devastated. He was looking at a huge financial hit that he was not prepared for at all. But Ria? She was calm. Now, why was she calm? Because she understood that unpredictable stuff just happens. She had transferred that risk by getting her cafe insured. She had a backup plan.
You know, Ria's story is the perfect way to get into our main topic. So what exactly is business risk anyway? Let's break it down.
At its very core, business risk is the possibility of a loss. Notice I said possibility, not certainty. It's the chance that things won't go the way you planned because of some unexpected event, like that storm, and you end up with lower profits, or even worse, a total loss.
There's a great quote from a writer named Wheeler that just nails it. He said, "Risk is simply the chance of something unfavorable happening. You can't know for sure if it will, and that's precisely what makes it a risk."
So here's the crucial takeaway. Risk is just baked into the DNA of every single business. It's totally unavoidable because, well, the future is uncertain. Now, the amount of risk changes. A tiny little cafe has less on the line than a huge tech company, but it's always there. And here's the real kicker. Profit? That's the reward you get for successfully dealing with all that risk. But here's the thing. Risk isn't just one big, scary monster. It comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. Let's look at a few of them, using some pretty famous real-world examples. First on the list is strategic risk. This is a big one. It's when your grand plan, the very foundation your business is built on, just doesn't deliver the results you were counting on. A classic example here is the Tata Nano car. The strategy, on paper, was brilliant. Make a super affordable car for the masses in India. But the marketing just completely missed the mark. It got branded as a cheap car. And let's be honest, nobody wants to be seen driving the cheap car. The whole strategy just crumbled, and it led to massive losses.
Next up, we have reputational risk. This is when the public just loses faith in your brand. And in the world we live in today, a bad reputation can sink a company faster than almost anything else.
And oh boy, do we have a textbook example for this one. The Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal. Remember that? When the news broke that millions of users' private data had been sold off to influence elections, public trust was just shattered. The hashtag delete Facebook was trending for weeks. It was a massive, massive blow to their reputation, and you could argue they're still trying to recover.
Then there's something called innovation risk. This is the danger that comes with trying to do something brand new. You can pour millions and millions of dollars into some groundbreaking product, but if the market just isn't ready for it, it can fail, and fail spectacularly. Just look at Google Glass. What a futuristic idea, right? A smart device you could wear on your face. But it was super expensive, it looked kind of awkward, and people were really worried about the privacy side of things. You know, a camera you could wear everywhere. Google's bold innovation just didn't click with the real world.
Okay, so with all these terrifying types of risk floating around, how does anyone actually manage to succeed in business? Well, here's the secret. It's not about avoiding risk. It's about managing it. So what's the playbook? What are the tools that an entrepreneur can actually use to navigate this minefield of risk?
Well, it pretty much boils down to 4 main strategies. First, you can just accept it, especially for small, unavoidable risks. Second, you can avoid a risk by just not doing that thing in the first place. Third, you can transfer the risk to someone else. That's what Rhea did with her insurance company. And finally, you can try to prevent it by taking steps ahead of time to make it less likely to happen. A smart entrepreneur, they use a mix of all 4.
So let's bring this all together. What's the ultimate lesson we can take away from the story of our 2 cafe owners, Aman and Rhea?
Here's the final lesson, plain and simple. Apaman took almost no risk, and because of that, he had very little potential for any real reward. He was safe, sure, but he was also stuck. Rhea, on the other hand, took on more risk with her menu, her strategy, but she managed it. And by managing her risk smartly, she opened up the door to much, much higher rewards and built a stronger business.
And that really brings us back to the most fundamental rule of business. Profit isn't some prize you get for playing it safe. It is the direct reward you earn for taking on uncertainty and winning. No risk, no reward. It's that simple.
So, as we wrap this up, I want you to remember this. The question for any entrepreneur isn't if you're going to face risk. You are. That's a guarantee. The real question is, how are you going to manage it? Are you going to be an Aman or are you going to be a Rhea?